The following program was provided by an independent producer solely responsible for its content. The opinions expressed do not necessarily represent the views of this station, its staff, board of directors, or underwriters.
Welcome to the Chic, Chattin Hour. I'm Karen Testerman, and today my guest is Lily Tang Williams, who is a lawyer and a former law clerk. She graduated from law school in China, grew up in communist China, and became an American citizen. So welcome to the Chic, Chattin Hour, Lily.
Oh, thank you for having me, Carrie.
So I am so excited to have you here because you have a unique story. You actually were had your childhood and young adulthood in communist China. Is that correct?
Right. I was born and grew up in China and left China just 2 months before my 24th birthday.
Wow. And so what was it like to be did you know that there was such a thing as freedom when you were growing up?
I had no concept about freedom. I was born into communism. I went through Chairman Mao's Great Cultural Revolution, which lasted from 1966 to 1976. So I was 2 years old to 12 years old. Of course, we had his Cultural Revolution continued for another a few years, and the communist system is still well alive today. So it's a really long story that China has been under a dictatorship of China Communist Party for over 70 years.
And so, Lily, tell us a little bit, what was it like? What things and amenities do you experience here in the United States that you were denied under the communist rule, but you didn't realize that you were being denied that?
No, I had no comparison when, that's why lots of mainland Chinese people today, they don't have a comparison. They never had access to the truth. So they just don't know. You cannot blame people who were denied that access. So I had no idea I would be living in the United States someday in a nice house. Look at the house you're seeing today, my dream home in a free state, New Hampshire, in the middle of 20 acres. And what an American dream. I never dreamed I would have a house like this. To tell people what the poverty is like to grow up in a communist country, that when I show two pictures to the students I speak to about communism, I show a picture of our best apartment. My brother still lives there today, belongs to my dad's state factory, which is basically a public housing. And the house I lived in Colorado for 20 years, a 2-story, 5-bedroom, 5-bath house. And I asked the students to say, which house would you like to live in? They all tell me, of course, the nice one in Colorado. But I told them, that apartment you saw is our best housing in China. So I told them this is the first a community housing I live in with my family in this courtyard. 8 families living together. I don't even have a picture of it. So basically, 8 families with lots of kids living in a courtyard provided by my dad's state factory. It is a community housing. It is free for the employees and some cadres, some officials. And I tell students that, can you imagine we only have one bathroom? That's the number one I wanted to hit them hard with. One bathroom. It's not the bathroom you have in mind. It's a big hole digged, on the ground, then divided by a very simple divider, half for women and half for men. And the light bulbs go out at night. It's dark. So you have to go there trying to find the 2 bricks over the hole to squat as a girl. It's very scary to go to that bathroom. And amenities, like a water access, we share the one water faucet. So when water is out, there's a long line waiting. What do? So my dad had to build a water container with his concrete skill. He is basically a steel factory worker. And to build a water storage for us. And then we use the coal, or black coal, to burn, to cook. When you have to do Chinese stir fry, lots of people love Chinese food. Stir fry tastes best, but then you have to burn some wood under a big wok hole to do your stir fry. So if that coal collapses, you're stuck. You cannot cook rice because you have no heat. And our amenities is extremely hot in the summer. Of course, no AC. We could not even afford a fan. My dad told me I was a little girl doing homework in the summer. My sweat would be running down on my face. So his dream was to give my daughter a little fan. And for the heating in the winter, the Beijing government decided Chinese people who live in the south of Yangtze River, no central heating because it's south. Even though we can have freezing temperatures, then people north have some kind of central heating, but it's still primitive. So I used to develop kind of like frostbites. And I don't have a picture of it, but I was told I could not write with my fingers. My right fingers were all frozen, like just frozen fingers, and look like if you poke it, and then your skin will break. I do have a frostbite scar from my childhood on my left foot. That means when it gets really cold, then your skin, just like your fingers, just very thin and very itchy. When you scratch it, it breaks up, and then you get infection. Let you do that all those years, then the scar just stay there forever. And for some reason, I block that memory. I don't remember so much pain and uncomfortable itchiness. I guess when you suffer some kind of trauma, you kind of try to block that bad memory. But it started to come back after I talked to my dad and my brother. They say, yes, you could not even write doing homework with your right fingers,
Okay. So you said that the bathroom was a hole. That it was a hole in the ground. Is that what you're saying?
Yes. It's a big hole. Yeah, it's like about 6 feet by 6 feet deep.
So at nighttime, did you have some source of light so that you could see where you were going, or were you pretty just?
Yeah. Well, we had a night bulb, but remember, there's no private property ownership under communism. Nobody owned anything. So when one night bulb went busted, I even don't remember how long it went busted. Then nobody cared to change to put a new light bulb there. So we were afraid to go into the bathroom in the dark. So people just buy little a container potty to keep inside their apartment. So they will get up and pee inside. Or use number 2, then just go dump it next day, just because you cannot see at night, and in the winter it's also freezing cold, and I mean in the summer they got the worms and crawling on the floor everywhere. I still have nightmares about that because when you're not careful, you step on those worms and they make this very disgusting noise, and I still hate everything that crawling on the floor. I was traumatized by those worms.
Oh, definitely. Now, Lily, under the current circumstances that we're living in right now, a lot of people are having difficulty finding toilet paper. Did you have access to even toilet paper?
we had everything was supplied by government brand. Like one kind of toilet paper was yellowish and pretty bad quality toilet paper. It's all cut up, one piece. You can't allow to touch one piece. You have to spend lots of money to buy it. We ran out all the time. I used to get scolded by my grandmother because I said, I'm a girl, grandma. I need to have extra toilet papers. And so I would put some in my pocket to hide them. And she would tell me like, oh, you are cheating on the family. And I just feel guilty. So you ran out. And I used to visit my family relatives in the country village, and they did not have any toilet paper. So when you go to number 2, then you use the bamboo shoes because there's lots of bamboo, so they will clean them and cut them and fine them. So it's acceptable to use it when you go to number 2, and might not do a complete good job, but you get the most of stuff off, and I had to try that. It's just a very, very primitive condition. I don't think people were born in this country. When they go to China, look at those bathrooms. I found out some tourists. They told me, Lily, when we go to countryside, we just could not use those bathrooms at all.
Yeah, it's unimaginable in many respects. So when you were living there, did you have ample food? I mean, did your family go to the grocery store and buy groceries and have the ability to choose what they wanted?
Well, we really did not have grocery stores in the Western American concept. We had just like individual shops owned by government, normally local government. And you have to stand in line to buy everything. We were live on food rationing coupons because, under communism, economy is so bad. Everybody's so equally poor. Everybody has to go get the government food coupons to stand in line to buy meat and flour, bag of potatoes. And we were live on the food rationing about 2.7 pounds of protein. The protein means eggs and the meat. So everything together called the protein coupons. Now you go buy either eggs or meat or both, but it's only 2.7 pounds for a family of 5 for a month. We have to budget that very, very carefully. But my parents' status in the Chinese government is very low, so they don't get lots of coupons because the coupons can be increased if you have a higher status within the Communist Party, within the state factory, which is quite contrary what they tell workers and peasants. You are the ruling class, proletarian rules, right? Workers' rights. But it's not true. We were actually at the bottom of the food chain because my parents were just regular workers, illiterate, no education, and low ranks. So our supplies were very, very limited. I was hungry all the time.
I can imagine. So if you really did the math on that, if you have 2 pounds of protein that you're allowed for 30 days, that's 1 ounce per day per child. I mean, per the whole family, and you're dividing that up, so you're not getting a lot of protein. Did you have access to fresh vegetables and like that you could maybe supplement some of the needs that you had for your body?
We had access to street market where you buy fresh vegetables. But they cost money. I think sometimes our money just ran out. My parents worked for state factories 6 days a week, but they did not have much pay. Our money would run out. As the oldest child, and I sometimes will be asked by my parents, we run out of money to buy fresh vegetables from the, the street vendor, just go out and get some in the field. We still had some, like a wild field. Basically, just go out, gather some, green stuff in the field, and come home, boil it with salt and with a Sichuan hot pepper sauce. That kind of enhance a little bit flavor, so you can put on top of rice to eat it. But sometimes you go on with, for a long time, even without the solid white rice. Like when you eat the steamed rice today, it's a solid white rice, right? Well, if you run low on rice, because your rice coupon runs out, and then you will just boil porridge. So you use dry rice 1 cup to boil a big pot of porridge. Then you just drink porridge. You never feel satisfied when you're a hungry child. Within 30 minutes or 1 hour, your stomach is growling again because they just don't last.
Right.
So the memory is like a hunger. It's kind of funny. My uncle told me how to trap rats in my grandma's community courtyard. But, it's not much meat, but you can suck on the bones once you burn, put on fire and get rid of skin. But that ran out too because everybody tried to catch rats. So we ran out of community rats very fast.
Wow. And so, Lily, what was school like for you? Did they allow you to go to school?
Well, I'm supposed to go to the government school, elementary school at the age of 6. But because I'm an oldest child and my parents had to pay for my baby brother's infant childcare, they couldn't afford it. So they asked me to stay home a year to babysit my 1-year-old baby brother. I wanted to go to school very badly because I wanted to learn how to read. And there's no fun. When you're a child grew up, in China, your childhood is just so boring and you have no TV. We were too poor to have a radio, 0 toys, and 0 place to play. So we would wrestle each other on the ground to say who is going to be pinched down to the ground and you win, right? That's our game. So I wanted to go to school so bad, but I had to stay home as the oldest child and to babysit. They bribed me with a movie ticket to watch a foreign movie, Romania fighting Nazis, because they knew how much I really wanted to go to school. And but I had to do my duty. And so I stayed home. So when I turned 7, I was so motivated to go to the school. And I was so motivated to do well, to make 100% each subject, to be the best I can be. And I did tell people this story when I trying so hard to become the first group to be nominated to be a mouse young pioneer to wear red scarf. And because every day we have to say, long live Chiang Mai Mao, 10,000 years, long live the Communist Party. So if you wear red scarf, become a young pioneer, which is a Mao's grassroots organization for elementary school students. And then you get a pat on the back to say, oh, good child, we are very proud of you. Mao loves you. But then I made a critical mistake in my first year grade. I was a little bit too confident. I told my girlfriend I would be the first one to join Young Pioneer. And she told me. Everybody was telling on each other. So I got a call into my teacher principal's office. They told me, you are too confident. You are too individualistic. You are too expressive. You need to keep your head down like everybody else. So we're not going to let you join Young Pioneer. So I learned my lesson. I cannot trust anybody. I was age 7. I need to conform. So I had to learn my hard lesson to conform to collectivism. Don't be this person, this natural, happy, optimistic little girl I was born to be. So I had to wear, the red scarf 1 year later. Then later, I basically learned this lesson. I never forget it. And I move up. I become red guard. I become class president. And so I did very well after that lesson.
So you did learn a lot. Now, when you were through with school, how did you? I mean, your father was illiterate, I think, right?
Right.
He didn't. Okay, and so how did you then get to go to school beyond your, your basic education?
I had to study really hard. My parents always tell me, we are bottom of the working class, make very little money. We have, no comfort and no amenities and not even enough food to eat because we are uneducated. You need to go to get the best education possible. I have a very good memory. I was blessed to be born with very good memory and a reasonable intelligence. I love to read and I love to learn. I was always extremely inquisitive. Sometimes adults would tell me, shut up, you little girl, go sit somewhere in the corner. Because I always ask my family adults when they get talking together questions. And instead, I just took that attitude in school. I always ask my teacher questions and of course, right questions and PC questions. And so I rise up pretty quick, and I always had the best grades and also politically correct. So I went through all that ranks until Mao died. And remember, during the Cultural Revolution, Mao used the Red Guard to purge his political enemies. So all these schools were shutting down, especially for my uncle generation. And so when my uncle generation went to countryside for 10 years, when the Cultural Revolution ended, 1976, that school reopened again, college reopened again. And even though we were lost, we were depressed, we couldn't understand why Mao died. He was like God to us. But I had a new dream. I'm going to the best college possible, and I'm going to learn about the truth. So I decided I'm going to study law. That's when I studied for 2 whole years of high school, study to test, so I can make a best grade through our 3 days college nationalized entrance exam to go to best university. And I did it right before my 17th birthday. I got enrolled to study law in Shanghai Fudan University.
Now, was that on, I mean, did they help you by paying for it, or did your father have to come up with the money to pay for your education to go to college?
So when only 1% of kids to go to college, it was paid by the state. And we did not have to pay tuition books. That we had to buy books, but no tuition fees, no dormitory fees. My dad had to work really hard to send me 15 yuan a month to buy food. I ran out of money always like 3 weeks into the month. And last week I had to just eat plain white rice with some vegetables, no meat, because the money just did not last, and I was still a hungry child in college. But at least I got to learn and to study law. And I heard that it's even more difficult nowadays because they will charge you full amount of college fees. So people like me who were born into illiterate parents, low power, no positions, no money, and it would be really, really difficult even to go. I don't know what I would do if I was today's young kid, let's say 15, 16, wanting to go to college. And it's very difficult. But,
Yeah.
I learned a lot in law school.
And then when, after you became a lawyer, how did you find out about America?
Well, I was 30 years into my college because I was searching for truth. I was challenging the authority. I wanted to change China into rule of law society, but I become very lost after we were told by professors the law is not for people to have justice. It's actually for the governing class to rule the masses. We are just one of the numbers, one of the statistics. So I become very lost again. I did not know what really to believe. I couldn't believe the old party where I thought somebody lied to me for the past of my life, but I also could not believe law anymore. So I just become a rebellious teenager, dancing, party, escape schools, until I met an American student in my senior year. He told me about America. He showed me a pocket constitution to say, Lily, this is a country that all men are created equal. Say, I did not even understand that concept. What do you mean? All men are created equal. Well, he said, Lily, it doesn't matter. You're Chinese, you're a woman, you're yellow skin, but you are God's children. And everybody is equal no matter what. Your rights come from God, your creator, not from your government. He totally woke me up. That's when I decided someday if I have to leave China, if I cannot fulfill my dream and happiness in China, I will go to America.
And so you, did he read you the Constitution, or were you able to read it?
My English was so poor, I couldn't read it. He read to me the first paragraph. Just say, we hold this truth to be self-evident. All men are created equal. I mean, that's all he needs to read to me. it's like, wow, what do you mean then? So I got to individual rights and liberty and natural rights. Later, I went back and he told me more about the separation of powers, the right to vote, and the right to bear arms. My light bulbs just cannot turn off. I mean, my light bulbs came on. I decided, you know what? I have a right. So I become even more rebellious after that.
More fighting for liberty. And so, Lily, how long did it take you to get from that stage into actually coming to America?
Well, once I become a faculty member after the law school graduation, which is a 4 years college, I was only 21 years old. And I start to realize the reality of China is a party dictatorship, PC, and no privacy, and no individual freedom and liberty. So I was fighting against my law school party bosses. And at the same time, they tell me what to do in my spare time. I was still young, but I did not even have the respect I'm supposed to have as young adult. So I decided maybe I should go to America to study graduate school. And the problem that in order to leave China, they own you. You have to get permission to leave. So I had to change my strategy to go to political meetings to butter my boss up so he could give me a permission to go to apply for passport. So I went to apply for passport 7 times. And that was kind of struggle, but I was determined. And I just start to say Kumbaya again. I turn my light bulb off temporarily. They're still on in my head, but it's just on the outside. I would go to political meetings. I would say Kumbaya, party policy, support it. I support party policy, blah, 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 blah. In order to get him to say, oh, okay, maybe you can go to America to study on my own time, on my own money to get a master's degree.
So, Lily, I'm so excited that you're here with me on the Chic Chattin Hour, and we are going to take a short break, and then we'll come back and talk to you more about what your perceptions are of what's going on in America today. So this has been Karen and Lily Tang Williams on the Chic Chattin Hour.
Oh, sweetie. Okay, you know what? Let's take off his sweatshirt. Get rid of pictures of him. You don't have to look at him. Goodbye, Dave.
Mom, you don't understand. He's tagged in 400 of my posts.
I can cut out tags.
No, that's not how it works.
What is a tag?
You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care would love to share their first with you.
And we're back on the Chic Chattin Hour. This is Karen Testerman, and my guest today is Lily Tang Williams. Lily was a Chinese born I'm sorry, she's not an American yet, but she did become an American. She was born in communist China and became a Chinese lawyer and law assistant professor. And she then was able to get to America to study in America. So, Lily, when you came to America, did you spend a lot of time in school here before you were able to become a citizen? I want to know how you got to become a citizen.
Well, first of all, I came here to study in a graduate school at the University of Texas at Austin. And I met my future husband the first night I came. And I studied about 3 years to finish my master's degree in School of Social Work. My English was very poor, and I did not have money to, figure out how to pay for bills. And so I had to borrow money even to leave China. Basically, my friend donated to me or gave to me, invested in me for $100. I said, I'm going to America, get rich. So I studied. My English was so poor. I had to record the lectures. I had to carry dictionary, a pocket notebook, and pen to write down English words I don't know, and just trying to basically sharp up my language skill and my cultural understanding. later, after married to my husband, John, of course, he is very helpful, correct my English, and explain to me, how each word or some jargons mean, and how political system work. At the beginning, I had no clue about how Americans' democracy or constitutional republic works. I had no idea about basically lots of organizations. I just wanted to pay bills and get my graduate degree and learn English, because I got to make it. I got to make it because otherwise, I would hate to be failing and sending back to China.
Yes, and so were you able to pay your sponsor back for the $100 that you were loaned?
Actually, $100 I borrowed from my Chinese friends. I borrowed actually $1,200 from my American sponsor, who paid for my air ticket, my graduate school admission fees, my TOEFL tests in China. So he was helpful to upfront all the money for me because I couldn't afford them. So after I come to this country, I was so blessed. I got an RA job part-time. So my first 2 months salary, about $900, all went back to my sponsor to pay my debt back. And but still not enough to cover $1,200. But eventually I pay all that back. And by saving money, I basically stay in a sponsor's home, later another Chinese family businessman's house, to help them clean and cook, exchange for free food and rent. That's how I survived for first few months.
So, that's very interesting because that's a lot of what my mother's family did. There were 8 children in the family and 7 of them were girls. And that's what they did when they were trying to go to school and so forth. They were cleaning houses or they were living in the house and helping as a house helper, I guess is what you'd call them. But
you have to do whatever you got to do, to survive.
Yeah, that's exactly what they did. So Lily, let's come forward to today. And I know that you came to New Hampshire, that you're living here now because you love the freedom that you see here in this state. But with the COVID virus scare and the stay-at-home orders and so forth, does that concern you at all? Having your perspective from your communist Chinese background, does that impact you at all?
Well, ever since this breakout, I have been watching Chinese TV leaked videos. I saw horrible things happen to Chinese people, especially Wuhan people. And the government lockdown, mandatory lockdowns, almost like I think they locked down entire Hubei province, an entire Wuhan city, which is the capital of Hubei, with 11 million people. You saw some very, very, disgusting things that are happening. But then they do not want you to go out, and they really even close your community gate, like a big iron door there, you cannot get out. Then you start to see people wear red army band, like a cultural revolution, to totally enforce the lockdown. So some people, you even don't know how many people really died inside their home, waiting for hospital bed, waiting for medical care, but could not get out. Those people are not counted. So I always remind people, do not trust official numbers and report from China. And we are different country. We are not communist China, one-party dictatorship. We are constitutional republic. No matter what crisis we have in this country, we need to keep it in a perspective that the people have rights. And I understand the fear, the panic, the overreactions by lots of people, by lots of local government to say, oh, we got to lock down, we got to stop this spread. I totally get it. And then my heart goes out to those people who are sick, infected, and lose loved ones, died. And I totally get it. But we also have to keep that in the perspective. We are not China. And we cannot just live in a police state where police will tell you where you cannot go. Like for example, there's some things going on. I'm really concerned as former immigrant from China, that they will find people who are driving around, look at the nature views during the lockdown, and they will harass people who drive in their cars to go to church ceremonies. And a California young man was doing surfing by himself, totally stick to the social distancing rule, and he was facing police harassment. So all those things happened. I'm just very concerned. I say people understand freedom in this country, and they will take their freedom responsibly. Most people will be responsible citizens. Do we have to have a mandatory lockdowns, quarantines? And if you have a mandatory, that means we are not free human beings. We are being house arrested by our government. I just don't like that trend. I feel very worried about that trend.
I don't blame you. It concerns me too. And so, what they decide is supposed to be essential versus non-essential. It doesn't all add up to making a lot of sense. And I understand flattening the curve, but I, like you, am concerned that we are now marching in lockstep. And it reminds me of what you were talking about when you say that the communist government tells you you have to do certain things, and then the people obey, and they do that which they're supposed to, otherwise they get in trouble. And so we have in Minnesota, they're actually taking anyone who was diagnosed with COVID, and they're now sharing that contact information with the police department. So does that mean now that we're going to be moving towards a very militant situation? I'm scared too.
Well, it's like in China, they give you, everybody pretty much has a cell phone in China, and they use a cell phone to monitor you, and they give you code. Remember the social credit system where they were tracking you and to your speech, where you are about, and how you use your money. And so now they give you a code for coronavirus. What code you can go out, what code you can go here, there, or you have to stay home. And they're going to strictly enforce that. I mean, I would hate to say American becoming like that. When people volunteer to do something and they have choices to choose their options, that's what freedom is about, because we are free human beings. But when you have so many laws and regulations enforced by the government with guns, and if you don't comply, you will be arrested. They fine you first, of course, a huge amount of fines. If you don't pay, then they can knock you up. That's not the country I came here for. I want the people in this country to understand that most people are good people. We cannot let the ruling class assume we are just one of the statistics. We are just one of the masses. Like in Chinese government's eyes, we have no inherent, undeniable human rights and values and dignity. Those need to be respected. I hate to say the government in this country becoming more and more like a tyrant in other countries in the world. And I did not leave China to come to another, tyrannical government country. I come here really to pursue my happiness, my prosperity, my freedom. So I'm always outspoken about that, to say, come on, Americans, have some common sense. We do have a crisis, which is caused by dictatorship country and by the government's delay and cover up inside China. That's why it's so important that we are focused on our country with a transparent, free flow of information, with free speech and with a free press, but also freedom of association, freedom of demonstration.
Uh-oh. I think we lost.
Yes.
I wasn't
Are you
sure if I
okay?
lost you. I'm fine. I thought maybe I lost you in there. But okay, so one of the things that we need to do, and I don't know if you saw it in the New Hampshire Constitution, but we have a Bill of Rights in the New Hampshire Constitution, and it says in the 10th article that we have the right to stand up to our government if it becomes out of control. So do you think we're close to that now, or are we still in the stage where we can be good citizens and still act responsibly?
I always tell people the best thing about this country is its citizens. It's my American fellow citizens who cannot be like a 1.4 billion Chinese. Even there, you have lots of brave souls to speak up. So American people who understand constitutional rights and freedom, we are the majority, I hope. I hope the silent majority, when the government becomes out of control, we have to speak up. I still believe the United States is, of course, a land of free, but still the trend is very worrisome. We are marching down to the wrong path for the past many, many years. Since I woke up in this country, I have been talking like a citizen activist to say, come on, guys, I didn't come here for more and more big government, more and more socialism. I want to have a free country for my children, grandchildren. So New Hampshire, I think right now that we have a temporary lockdown until May 4th. But after May 4th, if people want to open up their small business, if people want to go back to their work, are we really just let the government to decide what is essential business, what is not essential business? You don't think of freedom, property rights is essential business? And people have a right to make a living, to pursue happiness. How do you pursue happiness when you live on poverty, when you don't have your rights to make a living anymore? We have to really, wonder about those things.
Well, yes. And Lily, one of the things that I noticed too is that it seems like with I know the government is trying to help people who are without their incomes. And so they're doing this mass distribution of funds. But the thing that worries me is, are we now becoming dependent upon the government for finances? And if we do that, the man who pays the piper is the one who calls the tune. And that is concerning too. Do you see that as well?
I'm very worried. In short 6 weeks, when this crisis hit, country lockdown, look, you have 20 million people unemployed, and everybody is getting government money, almost $5 trillion being printed. How are we ever going to handle those kind of financial, deficits and budget? And if you keep printing money by the Fed, guess what? Inflation is going to be super high, and the taxes will be higher later. Our children, grandchildren will be living under tremendous hardship conditions. How about the prosperity? Even that's what is so important when people have a right to pursue happiness. And I always warn people, when you rely on government for everything, they also can take everything away. We rely on government for everything: healthcare, education, food rationing, housing, and basically your privacy, everything. Guess what? I did not feel like a human being. I had no dignity. I had no privacy. I had no property rights. So they can take all away overnight. You can be a millionaire today in China. If you become a political dissident, boom, you disappear. Your bank assets frozen. Your property gone. There's no protection. So I don't like to, I know government policy, some of elected officials mean well. They want to protect us. They want to save lives. Even people who support them, they mean well. But they have to understand that also we are worried about the trend. The trend is not good. I don't want the government to provide dough for everybody than to provide the wealth redistribution. When after this crisis is over, we're going to look at who is coming ahead and who is not. I'm so worried about the American middle class, small business, all will be closing down their business permanently. How is their American dream? And if you lose your American dream, your life is ruined. How are you going to be independent again? Everybody will be a government doll.
Yeah, that's it. It certainly seems that way. I want to shift gears for the last few minutes that we have, because you ran for U.S. Senate in Colorado, and I want to know what that experience was like for you. What did you enjoy the most? What did you find could be improved? Just tell us a little bit about your experience.
Well, the reason I ran is really to get my messages out. I thought at the beginning, people don't understand my English with a Sichuan accent, and I'm nobody. I'm just a regular citizen who started be naturalized in this country not long ago. But I was surprised. People actually always give me big hands when I finished my introduction, my talk. They loved my messages. I even got invited by another side and to talk to college students, talk to the panels, talk to public. I don't talk like a politician. I'm not really partisan person. I just tell my stories, why I choose to come to America, why I love America. I'm living American dream. I don't want that to be gone for my children. And the people liked me, but too bad that I'm still nobody because I did not win. But the thing is, though, I feel so passionate about freedom. People can tell, even though we don't agree with Lily, but she actually is an authentic person, and she's telling the truth. She lived through it. So she cut me some slack, even though when they don't agree with me on some issues. I love it. I love American people. I love this country. I want to connect with them at the emotional level, at the human decency, humanity level. This is not about the politics. It's all about our rights and the freedom we cherish as all Americans. And it's not just for some Americans, for some elites, they are going to rule over us. No, we are the majority. So we just need to be aware that when silent majority all start to listen to government, cheer for bigger government, we lose. Like in China, when they divided people into 10 classes, we all lose. We all become enslaved later.
That's so true. Now, Lily, you were at one point were not allowed to join the debate that they were having because they limited it just to the Republicans and the Democrats, and you were running as a libertarian. So at one point, though, it sounded like you did get on the debate stage. How did you do that?
Well, they said, well, if you're a third-party candidate, your party has to register 1% of the entire state population. So we needed to do a registration drive. So we got lots of people registered as Libertarian Party members in Colorado in order to get Lily into debate. That was great. I feel so encouraged. So for the first time in my life, I got into major debate, but only for once. That's it, one time only. They changed the criteria now to make it more difficult for other people getting into major debate. But after that debate, they saw Lily did very well. Everybody was cheering for her. Maybe we shouldn't have her there. So I did not get into other debates on the a lot of public news stations, just the two-party candidates. But it doesn't matter which side you are. When I got into that debate as a woman, a Chinese immigrant who's not a political politician, who just a naturalized citizen, tell stories. And then people loved it. And because, I even tell people, you know what, I will volunteer to wear a body camera because I work for you. If you vote for me, and I will volunteer wear a body camera, you know who I'm talking to, what I'm doing, and I work for you, not for work for the lobbyists, to keep government really clean. They all cheered, but nobody wore a body camera in Washington.
Now, Lily, what was the most important message that you feel that you've got to get across to Americans today?
I think my most important message is to tell them freedom is a very fragile thing. Americans who were born in this country, who always lived here, they take their freedom, in my eyes, as a granted. They don't know what's it like not to have any freedom, not to have any personal choices in anything you do in your daily lives. You have no humanity. They treat you like animals. So I want to tell Americans, we still have the greatest country on earth. If America goes down the wrong path, become a dark place, the whole world will be very, very dark. So we need to be vigilant. We need to challenge our authorities. We need to question everything what they're doing. If they are not constitutional, then we need to stand up, speak loud against it. It doesn't matter which party you belong to, because our common interest here is our rights and freedom, our country's future, for the sake of our children. So I want the people to really be aware of that and not to fight each other tooth and nail on a daily basis.
So the thing I find was interesting is that you were talking about the fact that we need to talk to one another, that we need to engage one another in discussions, and that we need to talk about our Constitution, our rights, and to stand up for them no matter what. And so you are going around to schools. You've been invited to many schools around the United States to share this message, correct?
Yes, and I have a sponsor, Victim of Communism Memorial Foundation. They want to focus on classrooms where our children in middle school, high school, and colleges understand the horrors of communism. So as eyewitness, I will go there just to tell them my personal stories. I have about 40 old pictures to show them under Mao in the communist China growing up. Some are very old, black, white. And if you just tell stories with those pictures, you got to see our kids' faces. They said, we never heard such things before. And some say, Mrs. Williams, you changed my perspective. I have one Bernie Sanders supporter even told me after my talk 2 weeks later, he said that he changed his mind on certain things. And he wanted to, keep in touch and talk more about it. And I think our young kids are not learning enough about what happened in real history. The communism, 100 years of that, killed 100 million people. Our kids did not know. Our kids did not know under Mao more people died than under Hitler. And it's like, what are they learning? What is going on in our educational classroom? So I feel like what I'm doing is very important. I thank all the teachers who open up their classroom to invite me.
And so, Lily, how do they get a hold of you so they can invite you to their classrooms?
They can go to my sponsor's website, Victims of Communism Memorial Foundation, called the VOC, to ask for a academic program and to send me to their schools. We need to have at least 100 students. Or they can write to me on my Facebook page, Lily for Liberty, and just message me to say, can you come? We can work something out for the dates, and then I will connect with my sponsor to get approval. Then we can work on the calendars to go to their school. Sometimes I will go to one state and touch 2 or 3 schools in 1 week. I love our students. They are very smart. They just need to listen to different kinds of voices, especially eyewitness voices about what happened when you don't have any human freedom.
Well, Lily Tang Williams, I am so thankful that you came to join me today on the Chattin Hour. And this is Karen Testerman and Lily Tang Williams, that you can find on Facebook at Lily, the number 4, Liberty. And thank you so much for joining me today.
Well, thank you for having me. It was great to be interviewed by you. You have a great night.
Oh, you too. Thank you so much.
The preceding program was provided by an independent producer solely responsible for its content. The opinions expressed do not necessarily represent the views of this station, its staff, board of directors, or underwriters.